Self-existence of Allah. Allah is ever self-existent and eternal. The attribute of self-existence and eternity is one of the divine names of Allah, meaning that He is self-existent with no beginning and end, and that He is free of any need from creation. Rather, everything needs Him for existence. The Quran says, "O you men, it is you that have need of Allah, but Allah is the one free of all wants, worthy of all praise." Fatir, 35-15. Quote ellipsis. Allah is free of all needs from all creation. Ankabut, 29-6. As these divine messages clearly put, Allah does not need any agent for His existence. That is why it is stated that Allah is permanently self-existing. If a person does not perceive this divine attribute of Allah, and if he does not have a complete faith in this regard, her faith is ranked as insufficient and void, because Allah to the level of creation. By doing so He reduces. Thus, Allah is exempt from the attributions that belong to all else besides Him. However, those hearts having mature faith constantly invoke the divine name of self-existent and eternal, and with the blessing of this invocation they, heart and soul, bind themselves to the bond of Allah and annihilate themselves in Allah. Namely, the servant's enjoyment of the invocation of the divine names of Allah is to do with how much he is independent of all else besides Allah. A companion of the Prophet prayed as follows. 48 octillion 183 septillion 804 sextillion 445 quintillion 56 trillion 324 billion 582 million 740,500 inches. O, my Lord! All praises be to you, you are the most beneficent, and there is no deity but you. You are the creator of the skies and the earth who has glory and kindness. You are the living, the self. N59. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Subsisting, and eternal. O my Lord, I beseech you by means of your names. When the Prophet, overheard this praying person, he asked those around him, "Do you know by what means is this person praying?" They replied, "Allah and His Prophet know better." The Prophet, answered, "I swear by the Allah who sustains my life that this person prayed to Allah by means of His greatest names. The prayers and wishes by means of these greatest names are answered." Tirmizi, Dawat, 63. N60. The established attributions of Allah are as follows. Life. Allah has life, and this feature of Him is existent with Himself. He is the ever-living, as the famous name, Hayy, indicates. He is alive, everlasting, and He has an absolute life. And so, all lives come to being as reflections of this attribution of Allah, and they are relative. Therefore, the life of a creature is a contemporary and material one that comes about as a result of the union of the body and the spirit. Thus, it is taken back from every earthling in due course. The attribution of ever-living, Hayy, is associated with Allah's being, because His excellency is to do with Him being alive, permanent, and having an absolute life. In short, the life of Allah is not the negation of death, and it belongs only to Allah. This is pointed out in the Quran. And put your trust in Him who lives and dies not. Furqan, 25-58. Abu Musa, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates. The Prophet, rose among us and uttered these 5 sentences. Allah is always alive, never slumbers, and slumber, in fact, does. 81,343,539,179,500 not go with Him. He reduces or increases the sustenance that He provides. The prayer made at night reaches Allah before the one made at daytime, and the prayer made at daytime reaches Allah before the one. 123,888,521,653,500. 313563097155500 Expression of faith and its pillars. Made at night, His curtain is the divine glory. If Allah was to uncover this curtain, His face would burn out all creation. Muslim, Ayman, 293. It is said in another saying of the Prophet, whoever prays asking Allah's forgiveness by saying 3 times, I appeal for mercy from the Allah who is ever living and everlasting, he is forgiven. Ahmad bin Hanbal, Musnad, 3:10. Allah states, He is the living one, there is no God but He. Call upon Him, giving Him sincere devotion. Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Mu'min, 40-65. The Prophet, J, used to make the following prayer when something worried him. Oh, my Lord, the ever-living, the everlasting, I appeal for your help that comes out of your mercy. Tirmizi, Da'awat, 91. Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, narrates. When the Battle of Badr started, I fought for some time. Then I came to the Prophet, J. I wanted to see what he was doing. And I found him in position of prostration saying these words. Oh, my Lord, the ever-living, the everlasting, I take refuge in you, I appeal for your help. I left him and went to fight again for some time. Then I came back to see him again. He was still in the position of prostration and he was still saying, Oh, my Lord, the ever-living, the everlasting, I take refuge in you, I appeal for your help. I went back to fight again, and after a while I returned once again. He was still in the same position, and he kept his position until Allah granted us victory. 48183806140450. With regard to the following verse of the Quran, know you, all, that Allah gives life to the earth after its death. Already have we shown the signs plainly to you, that you may learn wisdom. Hadid, 57-17, 61. N. 9486902724150 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Ibn Abbas said, bringing the earth back to life is an object lesson that we can observe. However, the following meaning is also pointed to in the above verse. Allah mellows the black and hard hearts in matters of faith and He leads them to return to their Creator. He mellows dead hearts through learning and wisdom. Knowledge, wisdom, Allah has knowledge, and His knowledge, wisdom, is all-encompassing. There is nothing beyond His knowledge. He is accordingly the one who knows the past and the future. Nothing remains hidden from His knowledge. Everything is known by and readily observable to Him. And all the wisdom, science, that humans have acquired are only small particles of this attribute of Allah. It is said in the Quran, from Allah, verily nothing is hidden on earth or in the heavens. Al-Imran, 3-5. Say, whether you hide what is in your hearts or reveal it, Allah knows it all. He knows what is in the heavens, and what is on earth. And Allah has power over all things. Al-Imran, 3:29. And He is Allah in the heavens and on earth. He knows what you hide, and what you reveal, and He knows the recompense, which you earn, by your deeds. Anam, 6-3. He knows that which is in front of them and that which is behind them, while they encompass out of His knowledge nothing except what He wills. Baqarah, 2-255. That is why we say, Allah knows best. For man's knowledge is even less than a pinhead in the ocean of the immense universe. It is stated in the Quran. Of knowledge it is only a little that is communicated to you. 81,343,550,101,500, Isra. 17-85. N62. Therefore, many doors of science are kept open for human beings to investigate, but there are also walls of mystery that defy penetration or 123,888,522,860,000. 313563097155000 Expression of faith and its pillars. Until Allah permits. The reason behind this is to let the servant know her powerlessness, and understand his dependence on Allah, and thereby resign himself, herself to the wisdom of Allah. It is said in the Quran. It is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you, but Allah knows and you know not. Baqarah, 2-216. In fact, human beings get distressed about the things that initially seem bad. He cannot see the mercy behind them. And He is sometimes wrapped up in many things coming in a shape of goodness, and He cannot see the evil hidden in them. It is narrated that there used to be a righteous man belonging to an Arab tribe. The tribe used to take heed of the advice of the man and direct themselves in accordance with his instructions. One morning, when they woke up, they found all their dogs dead. They went straight to the man to tell him what happened. After a short time of meditation, the man told them, their death may hopefully bring you salvation. The following night all their cocks died as well. They went to the man again. He answered them in the same way. Their death may hopefully bring you salvation. Upon hearing him, one among them asked, "Oh, master, dogs are our keepers, and the cocks are our muezzins. Caller to prayer, what sort of salvation can their death bring to us?" The righteous man answered, "It is Allah who knows all secrets. Surely, he must have hidden a great truth in this event that we cannot figure out now." And the following night no one's light was on. Everybody was wondering what kind of nuisance they would again be exposed to. 481,838,094,932,500 Yet, when they woke up in the morning they realized why such mysterious events had been taking place. That night the enemy had raided and looted the surrounding region. The enemy came close to that tribe, but as there was no dog and cock to be heard, and also no light to be seen, they passed by without noticing them. Thus, the tribe had escaped great looting and slaughter. Silks Sulik. N63. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N64. So, we see that an event seeming to be a source of distress turning into a favor. Ibrahim Haki of Erzurum puts this point into words as follows. Do not question why this is so, it fits where it is. Watch what happens in the end. Let us see what our Lord brings in the end, he does the best. The Prophet, J, says, when the servant is taken ill, Allah sends him 2 angels and orders them, go and find out how the servant welcomes the illness he suffers from. If they find the servant thanking and praising Allah, they transmit his attitude to Allah who knows the best. And Allah, who sends the angels to have them witness the deeds of the servant, says, if I take the life of this thankful servant, he deserves a place in paradise. Yet, if I cure him, he deserves to have a better flesh and blood, and I forgive his sins. Muwatta, Ain, 5. This saying of the Prophet, J, acknowledges that the events that seem to have no outward benefit for us are divine trials, and they may have great rewards behind them. In the history of humanity there are events that at first seemed to occur in the form of wrath, but turned into the form of grace in the end. However, the contrary also happened. For example, the people of the Prophet Hud mistook the clouds of wrath for that of rain. Only when the stones began to fall down instead of rain did they understand the fact. Yet, it was too late for them. 813,435,106,426,000 Therefore, it is the duty of the servant to surrender herself to Allah, being conscious that Allah knows the best. And this surrender may only be actualized by the knowledge of Allah or mystical contemplation, as no science can eliminate the evil consequences that ignorance may bring in this matter. It is only the knowledge of Allah that may eliminate evil consequences. In fact, there are a good many unlettered people who were given distinguished rewards through the knowledge of Allah. 123,888,522,034,500. 313563097155500 Expression of Faith and its Pillars. For this reason, Yunus Emre tells that the fundamental science is the knowledge of Allah. 29 syllables. You read them from A to Izard, you say, O Master. What does it mean? Science means knowledge, it means self-knowledge. If you do not know yourself, why do you study science? Allah divulges the position of humanity over against his wisdom, nor does anyone know what it is that he will earn on the morrow. Luqman, 31-34. Say, as to the knowledge of time, it is with Allah alone. Mulk, 67-26. Knowledge is in the vision of Allah. Namely, the absolute knowl edge belongs to him. His knowledge encircles everything. Allah's knowledge is like a mirror. The things that are reflected in the mirror may differ, but the mirror covers all things reflected in it, and it does not change. 4,818,380,224,917,000 Allah's knowledge is exempt from being the result of a thought or an idea. The delicate order and harmony of the universe, to which no will or intellect can deny, is the most fresh evidence of the endless knowledge of Allah. It is evident that a human being can reach to even a minor invention in years and through the cooperation of many different individuals. For example, the communication by cellular phone today is the result of an accumulation of knowledge beginning centuries ago and of many different experiences of humanity. Other developments and advancements are of this sort as well. Whereas all these inventions and the as yet unmanifest endless mysteries are the features that Allah placed in the order of the universe instantaneously with His divine knowledge. Allah, in the Quran, reminds human beings of this fact. N65. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Should he not know, He that created? And He is the one that understands the finest mysteries, and is well acquainted with them. Mulk, 67-14. N66. Allah, the All-Hearing. Allah is the All-Hearing. His hearing is not like ours. There is no voice hidden to Him. As it has been described, He hears the sound of an ant walking on a stone. And all creatures that have the capability of hearing can only hear through the reflection of Allah's attribute of the All-Hearing. They can hear no thing when deprived of this capacity. There are many examples of it. Allah repeatedly cites His attribute of all-hearing along with that of all-seeing, and reminds human beings of His divine sight, and thereby warns them not to go astray from the right path. Allah, the all-seeing. The attribute of the all-seeing is also an attribute of Allah in accordance with His divine nature. He duly sees everything, He is the all-seeing. There is nothing hidden to His sight. Again, as it is described, He sees a black ant on a black stone at night. Jalal al-Din Rumi explains why the human beings are notified of the attributes of the all-knowledge, the all-hearing, and the all-seeing. Allah notifies you of His attribute of the all-knowing lest you attempt to introduce subversive activities on earth. Allah notifies you of His attribute of all-hearing so that you keep your mouth closed to unpleasant and nasty words. Allah notifies you of His attribute of the all-seeing lest you perform evil and secret acts. Thus, Allah lets the servants know their responsibilities in this matter as follows. 81,343,543,370,500 inches and pursue not that of which you have no knowledge. For every act of hearing, or of seeing or of feeling in the heart will be inquired into, on the day of judgment. Isra, 1736. 123,888,522,479,000. 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. Niyati Misri puts into words this responsibility with the following words. An eye that has no ability to see is nothing but an enemy to the head it stays on. An ear that takes heed of no advice deserves pouring lead through it. A tongue that has no familiarity with invoking Allah's names, do not call that flesh as tongue. The heedless servants of Allah will be addressed as follows. O the servant, did you acknowledge us in the earthly life, or not? If you did not, why did not you try to acknowledge us? If you did, you were supposed to behave accordingly. The noble Nashabi who quotes the above statement says, O fearless person, do what you do without the presence of other people so that it becomes clear whether you fear Allah or the people. If you fear Allah, you fear Him everywhere. The real followers of the path of virtue and piety are, everywhere and every time, aware of the fact that they are under the observation of Allah. The second Caliph Omar was patrolling the streets of Medina at nighttime when he stopped all of a sudden to hear the dispute coming out of a house between a mother and her daughter. The mother was telling the daughter, "Add some water to the milk that we are going to sell tomorrow." The daughter replied, "Mum, did not the Caliph forbid to add water to milk?" The mother told her daughter off saying, "How can the Caliph know that we add water to milk at this time of the night?" 481,838,023,431,500 However, the girl who feared Allah did not accede to the fraud her mother wanted, and she told the mother. N67. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. Mum, let us suppose that the Caliph does not see, what about Allah? It is easy to hide this fraud from people, but how would it be possible to hide it from Allah who is the all-seeing? The Caliph, Omar, was moved by the words of this Allah-fearing girl. He was so affected by the behavior of this pious girl that he later managed to help to arrange for his son to marry her. Omar bin Abdulaziz, who was to become the fifth caliph, was the offspring of this noble lady and his son. Therefore, the whole issue is to manage consciously to realize that we live under the observation of Allah. It is said in the Quran, "No vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is above all comprehension, yet is acquainted with all things." An'am, 6-103. N 68. The will of Allah. Allah wills and acts as He wants. When He intends a thing, His command is just, be, and that thing happens. His actions are never to be questioned. To Him is due the primal origin of the heavens and earth. When He decrees a matter, He says to it, be, and it is. Baqarah, 2-117. He is the irresistible, watching from above over His worshippers, and He is acquainted with all things. An'am, 6-118. Say, O Allah, Lord of power and rule, you give power to whom you please, and you strip off power from whom you please. You endow with honor whom you please, and you bring low whom you please. In your hand is all good. Verily, over all things you have power. Al-Imran, 3:26. As these verses point out that Allah is the absolute actor. Any occurrence and act depend on His will. In a word, a thing that He decrees occurs, and a thing that He does not decree does not occur. 81,343,560,579,000 Therefore, the deeds that Allah approves occur in accordance with His will. And the deeds that Allah disapproves, again, occur with His divine permission, but this time they are in the position of trials for us. 123,888,523,304,500. 313563097155500 Expression of faith and its pillars. Thus, as the above verse states, every happening requires the condition of, if Allah pleases or permits. This condition covers all creation, both bodily and spiritual beings, as well as the prophets. An example of this occurred in the life of the Prophet, J. A group of Bedouin came to the Prophet, J., asking him some questions. As he was not very knowledgeable about their query and thinking that he might get a revelation about it later in the day, he asked them to visit him again the following day by telling them, "Come to see me tomorrow and get your answer then." Yet, as he did not say, "So please Allah or Allah willing," while speaking to them no revelation was sent down by Allah for a fortnight. And after this long wait the first revelation was of the following verse. Nor say of anything, I shall be sure to do so and so tomorrow, without adding, so please Allah, and call your Lord to mind when you forget, and say, I hope that my Lord will guide me ever closer, even, than this to the right road. Qaf, 1823. As this verse illustrates, human beings are not always able, or do not have the necessary capacity, to act as they wish because their will and power are deficient. So, the servant is supposed to know his, her limitations and he, duly observing the rights of Allah, must not go too far. So that Allah explains that He may forgive the sins and villainies of His servants, but not the denial of Allah or attributing partners to Him as well as infringing on the rights of His fellows. Namely, Allah will forgive anyone whom He pleases and will not forgive anyone who has displeased Him. This is declared in the Quran as follows. To Allah belongs all that is in the heavens and on earth. He forgives whom He pleases and punishes whom He pleases, but Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Al-Imran, 3-129. Friends of Allah commit their will to the will of Allah through perceiving this attribute. As in other subjects they annihilate themselves in Allah. They duly know that any will of Allah is perfectly placed and they guide their surroundings in this direction. 481,838,023,558,500 Sheikh Sunbul Sinan, may Allah be pleased with him, asked his disciples the following question. N 69. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. O my sons, what would you do, if Allah gave you the right to mastermind the world? They each gave different answers. One said, I would exterminate all unbelievers. Another said, I would eradicate all who drink. Another one said, I would exterminate all smokers. Among the disciples there was a learned scholar named Mustafa Muslakhiddin Effendi. He was keeping quiet. The sheikh faced him and asked, "Oh my son, what would you do?" Mustafa Muslakhiddin Effendi answered decently, "Oh master, what is wrong? Allah forbid, with the way Allah is already masterminding. I would keep the things as they are." Sheikh Sunbul Sinan rejoiced and said, "The thing now found the center it should be in." And from that day forth Mustafa Muslakhiddin Effendi was called as the center of masters, and he succeeded the sheikh. Ibrahim Haki of Erzurum declares his commitment to Allah by the following words as if he summarizes this point. All his acts are superior. All his acts are well matched, and all his acts are favorable. Let us see what he does. He does the best. N70. Upon my word he has done the best, upon my oath he has done the best, upon my word he has done the best. Let us see what Allah has done. 8,134,352,603,500 He has done the best. 123,888,522,923,500. 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. The omnipotence of Allah. Allah is the omnipotent and the Almighty. There is no hardship for him. Allah summarizes this attribute in the Quran as follows. Allah has power over all things. Baqarah 2:20. In another verse it is said, "Verily, when he intends a thing, his command is, be, and it is." Yasin 36-82. And when Allah commands a thing, that thing is bound to happen. Therefore, we should not fall into the error of thinking about the omnipotence of Allah with our weak mind, as we have limited power. Allah's endless power is exempt from any of the limitation and impotence humans are subject to. Therefore, there is no being who is not impotent before his endless power. Our power is only as much as he ordains. History has witnessed the defeat of many who rose against this power. Among them were Nimrod, Croesus, Abu Jahil, and many others. They left the world empty-handed. Allah took their lives, bringing them into derision. In particular, the death of Nimrod, who claimed to be a divine being, is a striking one, providing a message regarding the divine power. Nimrod died from a mosquito bite. The termination of Abraha and his soldiers who attacked the Kaaba, counting on the elephants he had, by the birds of Ababil is again a striking one. Jalal al-Din Rumi says, "Though this world is too great and endless in your view, it is not even a particle before Allah. Open your eyes and look around. What an earthquake, a hurricane, and a flood does to the world and its contents." 4,818,380,130,238,500 Truly, the power of Allah sometimes makes itself manifest in extraordinary ways that we are not used to. For example, the positive quality of fire, water, wind, and other natural elements are sometimes transformed into a destructive quality by the divine power. In this regard, one is supposed to see the divine will in the background of the events taking place in the nature. Those who cannot see it are stuck with a blind perspective. Jalal al-Din Rumi warns those heedless. Pople. N71. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Do not forget that this world is a straw before Allah. The divine will sometimes elevates it and sometimes lowers it. It sometimes makes the world sound, and sometimes unsound. It sometimes carries the world to the right, and sometimes to the left. It sometimes makes it a rose garden, and sometimes a thorn garden. These facts are frequently touched upon in the Quran. Know you not that to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth? And besides him you have neither patron nor helper. Baqarah 2-107. Yunus Emre, the Sultan of the sagacious people and the lovers, puts into words our impotence before Allah. If I take my way without you, I cannot be helped to take a step. You are my power in my body, to take my head away. The word of Allah. Allah has a word. He does not need a voice, letters, words, and sentences to line up. Namely, Allah's speech is exempt from both letters and sound. His speech never has any resemblance to that of humans. And humans can speak through receiving a share from that of Allah. Yunus Emre voices this point so perfectly. O the knower of the essence of the words! Come and say from him this word comes through? The one who does not understand the essence of the word, thinks that it comes from me. N72. Allah Almighty communicates His orders, prohibitions, and other wills to angels, prophets, and human beings, and even to all other creation through the attribution of divine word. Essentially, as His creation comes through His word of be. Creation, in a way, depends on this attribute of Allah. A minute manifestation of this attribute is to be seen in the ability to talk given to human beings. Yunus Emre says in this regard, a word may stop the war. 8134352349500. A word may have the head cut off. 123,888,522,923,500. 313563097155500. The expression of faith and its pillars. A word may turn the poisonous soup into honey and butter. All the divine holy books are sent down through the attribute of the divine word. Revelation was sometimes sent down by the angel Gabriel, and sometimes directly, hidden behind many veils. This is a kind of communication with Allah. It is said in the Quran, it is not fitting for a man that Allah should speak to him except by inspiration or from behind a veil, or by the sending of a messenger to reveal, with Allah's permission, what Allah wills. For He is most high, most wise. Shura, 42-51. And to Moses Allah spoke directly. Nisa, 4-164. Allah spoke to Moses directly not by means of a tongue or voice, but by means of His attribute of the eternal divine word. 70 People who were accompanying Moses to witness the occasion and the angel Gabriel did not hear or sense this divine speech. Moses lost consciousness in the face of this divine transfiguration. He felt beyond the limits of time and space, not remembering where he was, in this world or in the hereafter. He strongly wished for the sight of Allah, but he was told by Allah, "You can never see me." However, when Moses unconsciously insisted to see Allah, he was told to look at the mountain, and in case he sees the mountain remain, he would be able to see Allah as well. According to narratives, radiance came to the mountain behind many veils, and the mountain exploded, and Moses lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he appealed for mercy, feeling that he had gone too far. If Moses had not lost consciousness, then he would have been blown up together with the mountain as well. On the other hand, the angel Gabriel, one of the great angels, told the following words to the prophet, J. on the night of the prophet's miraculous journey to heaven when they together reached the lotus tree in the seventh heaven. 56 octillion 324 septillion 562 sextillion 801 quintillion 500 quadrillion 481 trillion 838 billion 24,511,000 inches. O Prophet, I am allowed only to this point. Beyond this point you will go alone. If I take just one step more, I will burn to a cinder. N73. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N74. It is the Prophet Muhammad, J., who was given the generous opportunity in this respect, and he had the honor of having ascended to the heavens. On the night of the ascension, the Prophet, J., Sultan of the universe, was honored with a special union and communication in a way that we cannot perceive. As the attribute of the divine word has no association with other words, it is exempt from any limitation. The divine word that are reflected to us in this world, in fact, are an endless ocean of meaning. This is told in the Quran as follows. Say, if the ocean were ink, wherewith to write out the words of my Lord, sooner would the ocean be exhausted than would the words of my Lord, even if we added another ocean like it, for its aid. Qaf, 18-109. And if all the trees on earth were pens and the ocean were ink, with 7 oceans behind it to add to its supply, yet would not the words of Allah be exhausted, in the writing. For Allah is exalted in power, full of wisdom. Luqman, 31-27. All words in this world are reflections of the attribute of the divine word. Thus, Allah has His great names cited by countless tongues. Allah endowed all creation, including the ones that are thought to be inanimate, with a language from his attribute of the divine word. It is said in the Quran, "The seven heavens and the earth, and all beings therein, declare his glory. There is not a thing but celebrates his praise, and yet you understand not how they declare his glory. Verily he is oft forbearing, most forgiving." Isra, 1744. Yunus Emre perceives the mystery of this verse. Rivers of paradise flow splashing the words Allah, Allah, the nightingales of Islam sing out saying the words Allah, Allah. Branches of the tuba tree swing read the Quran by their tongues rows of the paradise. 8,134,352,095,500 smell saying the words Allah, Allah. 123,888,522,923,500. 313563097155500 expression of faith and its pillars. Creation, Genesis. It is the attribute by which Allah creates. It means creation from nothingness, and this type of creation only belongs to Him. The countless worlds are His production. And other factual attributes of Allah are included in the attribution of creation. It is said in the Quran, "He who has made everything which He has created most good, He began the creation of man with nothing more than clay." Sajda, 32-7. It is He who has created for you all things that are on earth. Moreover His design comprehended the heavens, for He gave order and perfection to the seven firmaments, and of all things He has perfect knowledge. Baqarah, 229. The same who produces for you fire out of the green tree, when behold, you kindle therewith your own fires. Yasin, 36-80. Do they not look at Allah's creation, even among inanimate things, how their very shadows turn round, from right and the left, prostrating themselves to Allah, and that in the humblest manner? Nahl, 1648. The attribute of creation differs from other attributes of Allah. Allah knows through the attribute of knowledge, and through the attribute of power, He makes things exist or annihilates them. And through the attribute of will He decides to make things exist or to annihilate them. And then comes the attribute of creation through which things are created. The mysteries of the universe are hidden in the attribute of creation. Therefore, everything bears witness to the existence of Allah. To sum up, Allah is known by His servants mainly through the above attributes. All these attributes and all other countless divine attributes are not existent now and then, in accordance with the requirements of time and space, but existent all the time. No attribute of Allah has an opposite to it in Allah's person. Namely, Allah is alive, but He is exempt from death. He exists, but His 4818380273050056324541021000 existence is exempt from extinction. He has knowledge, but His N75 948690106045000 ISLAM, spirit and form. N76. Knowledge is exempt from ignorance. He supplies the needs, but He is exempt from being needy. All attributes of Allah follow this line. On the other hand, Allah is exempt from having human organs regarding all attributes, and not even an atom of the attributes of Allah exists in humans. It is only the reflections that exist in humans. Namely, our ability to talk comes from a particle of the reflection from Allah's attribute of the word. Thus, Allah's life does not bear resemblance to our life. His sight is not like ours. In a word, the content of all attributes of His exalted being present in endlessness and infinity. And all the attributes are eternal in the past and in the future. Namely, no attribute of Allah is limited. Accordingly, His knowledge, power, word, creation, and all other attributes are exempt from any kind of similitude and explanation. When it comes to our makings, they are both limited and transient. Thus, humans, who cannot properly know themselves, cannot know the attributes of Allah as required. Namely, as we cannot perceive the factual being of Allah, we cannot either perceive the factual characteristics of the attributes of Allah. 813,435,280,479,500 On the other hand, a superior being or an attribute cannot be compared or associated with an inferior one. If that sort of association is established, it is only done to devalue the superior one. For example, when a cat is associated with a lion, this association points out that cat's superiority over fellow cats in terms of strength. Yet, if a lion is associated with a cat, this association shows the cowardice and impotence of the lion. Thus, comparing Allah with the creatures is a blindness and a villainy. Moreover, it is a defamation that does not go with the supremacy of Allah. That is why such an act is called polytheism, and the actor is called a polytheist. For instance, polytheists make the mistake of associating the boundless attributes of Allah such as the all-hearing and the all-seeing in parallel with their own capacity to hear and see in view of their own framework, and they, subsequently, reduce their beliefs regarding the attributes of Allah to the impotent stones they themselves give shape to. However, those who comprehend the truth that his human attributes are a scrap of reflection from 123,888,524,003,000. 313563097155500 The expression of faith and its pillars. Allah's attributes live in the season of nothingness by this spiritual knowledge, and they, feeling the delight of faith, say, "There is no being but Allah." They mentally and emotionally have sound knowledge of the fact that, "My Lord, you are what you are." In this way, they, being exempt from any suspicion and delusion, and having a sound heart, reach their Lord, and they find a place in the Book of Saints. One of the dervishes asked Bayazid I Bastami, "O Master, what are the great names of Allah?" Bayazid I Bastami answered, "O my son, are there any minor names of Allah? Do not be unwary, all names of Allah are great. If you want your request to be answered by Allah, stop being occupied with the vanities of life. Allah's names are not reflected in unwary hearts. It is the enlightened hearts which Allah attends through many names." Belief in the angels. Angels are benevolent non-material beings. That is why we cannot see them in their actual form with our eyes. Yet, they have the ability to be seen in whatever form is deemed best. However, they were allowed to be seen by some of the great prophets in their non-materialized form. Their nature requires no food, drink or sleep. As they are created to spend their entire existence in the service of Allah, they are not given a soul, nafs. Therefore, their nature does not allow disobedience to Allah. They are uncountable in number. It is said that the raindrops are brought down by the angels, and each angel can have just one turn until the day of judgment. That is why raindrops or snowflakes do not come into Koli Sion while coming down. Angels have different levels in accordance with different responsibilities. Maulana Jalal al-Din Rumi says in this regard, 481,838,023,876,000 inches. Each angel has a different value or degree as the difference between the new moon and the full moon. N77. 9486901060450 ISLAM. Spirit and form. Each angel has a share from the divine light, and they are endowed with the divine light according to their levels. There are 4 prominent angels whom we may call at the level of prophets, of angels. They are Jibreel, Gabriel, Mikael, Michael, Israel, Azrael, and Israfil, Israfil. Gabriel was given the duty of bringing revelation to the prophets. Mikael is responsible for natural events. Azrael is responsible for ending our life. Israfil will blow the trumpet at the time of the end of the world and on the day of judgment. Angels are, in a manner of speaking, like the spirit that is given to us. As we cannot see our spirit, so we cannot see them. As we cannot deny the existence of our spirit, we cannot deny the existence of angels. It is said that to deny the existence of angels is like denying the existence of prophets, as an angel transmitted the divine truth to humanity. Thus, the Quran warns those who deny Jibreel, the angel of revelation. Say, whoever is an enemy to Jibreel, for he brings down the revelation to your heart by Allah's will, a confirmation of what went before, and guidance and glad tidings for those who believe. Baqarah 2-97. N78. As we have already seen, angels, apart from divine service to Allah, have other duties as well. Some help humans in difficulty on the command of Allah. This type of angel, helping the men of faith, have often been observed in the history of Islam. The companions of the Prophet, veterans of the Battle of Badr, testified to this fact as full lows. During the hot hours of the Badr battle we have witnessed the deaths of enemies even without our swords touching their bodies. Allah declares this fact in the Quran saying, "Remember your Lord inspired the angels with the message, 'I am with you. Give firmness to the believers. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Smite you above their necks and smite you all their fingertips off them.'" Anfal 8:12. 81,343,540,195,500 inches. If you could see, when the angels take the souls of the unbelievers, at death, how they smite their faces and their backs, saying, "Taste the penalty of the blazing fire." Anfal 8:50. 123,888,522,987,000. 313563096520000 expression of faith and its pillars. Some angels are occupied in protecting us. They are called angels of Hafazah, and some angels are recording all that we do. They are called the honorable recorders, Kiram and Katiban, and the angels Munkar Nakir are engaged in questioning the person immediately after his, her death. There are also angels who pray for humans to be forgiven by Allah and not to go astray. Belief in the books of Allah. From Adam, a.s., the first man and the first prophet and onwards, Allah has sent his commandments and prohibitions through revelation, first in the form of pages, scrolls, and later in the form of books since more guidance was needed as society expanded and problems increased. There are 4 major holy books: the Tawrat, Torah, the Zabur, Psalms, the Injil, Gospel, and the Quran. Adam was given 10 pages, or scrolls. Seth was given 50 pages. Idris, Enoch, was given 30 pages, and Abraham was given 10 pages. As for the major books, the Tawrat was given to Moses, the Zabur was sent to David, the Injil was sent to Jesus, and finally the Quran was sent to Muhammad, the Sultan of the universe. Holy books are like letters from Allah to his servants. They deal with how humans should spend their lives and provide a prescription for eternal happiness. They are reflections of Allah's attribute of the eternally pre-existent word of Allah to the world and perception of human beings. So, the holy books also present a miracle of the word as well as the message they contain. 4,818,380,136,080,500 The Quran, which is the last holy book, abrogated the previous ones. The reasons for this were twofold. Firstly, long before the revelation of the Quran, the holy books in their original form had either been lost or corrupted or verses had been concealed. Secondly, changing human needs required a new, complete and final message. However, the original and the primary message of all the scrolls and books regarding the cardinal principles of faith are the same. A poet puts this fact into words very nicely. N79. 948690106045000 ISLAM. Spirit and Form. N80. The meaning of 4 books is there is no God but Allah. Allah says in the Quran, "To every people have we appointed rites and ceremonies which they must follow. Let them not then dispute with you on the matter." Hajj 22-67. The great characteristic of the heavenly religions is that they are without doubt based on divine revelation. However, today this feature remains only with Islam since the books of the religions previous to Islam were exposed to human error in preservation and through interpolation and distortion of the original meaning. As a matter of fact, Islam was sent primarily due to this distortion. At the same time, the Quran, as the final revelation, covers the essence of the previous ones and it is the perfection and completion of what humanity needs for peace and happiness here and in the hereafter. As it is the final one, it is under the protection and authority of Allah. The Quran puts forward the challenge that it will never be distorted or replaced. If you are in doubt as to what we have revealed from time to time to our servant, then produce a surah like thereunto. And call your witnesses or helpers, if there are any, besides Allah, if your doubts are true. Baqarah 223. As this verse states, the Quran has remained unaltered through the centuries. It covers the guiding principles for our salvation as follows. Fundamentals of faith and pious deeds. The nature of the life of man, stages of creation, birth, life, and finally death. And also man's nature. Immature drives of the ego, mature drives of the spirit, and methods of purification of the ego. The complex system of the universe, 7 layers of the heavens, sun, moon, stars, natural events, rain, alternation of the day and night, creation between the earth and the sky and their features. 81,343,540,767,000 historical information. Positive and negative status of nations both in the world and in the hereafter. Divine vengeance. The lessons from prophets and their peoples, and lessons from the past. 123,888,523,241,000. 3135630